Hello, in this video we are going to cut out this front part and we're going to change the topology a little bit so that it will be flowing with the geometry a little bit better, and we'll use a few different tools doing that. So the first thing I wanted to do is make it a little bit easier for us to see our geometry with the image plane, and you can do that by going to selecting your image plane and then going to the alpha gain in the attribute editor and just reducing that. And that makes it more transparent so you can see it a little bit better. So you can do that kind of thing. You can also click on the anti-aliasing button here. This makes your lines a little bit clearer. And if you turn on shaded, smooth, or this button right here, you can go over here and there's X-ray, and this makes it so that you can see the shaded. It's like a little bit of a transparency thing with your shaded geometry. So that makes it a little bit easier also, in case you're having troubles with the image plane and seeing your geometry. So the first thing I would do when trying to cut something like this out is figure out what makes sense with the pathway. So like I think, so this, we already have this like edge loop going up. It makes sense that this would probably move over and then we delete all this front part. So let's just do that, I guess. So I'm going to select this vertice and just move it over. So that would be like the corner. Move this over, move it straight. And then I'm going to move this over so that it's not so close to this vertice. Move this down. And move this down here. Move this down. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to select faces. Select this face. And delete. So I'm going to go over here. And now I have that cut out, and you can see in the perspective what that looks like. So one issue with just doing this, like leaving like this, is the geometry isn't flowing in here. So when you add geometry, it's not gonna go in the directions that you want. You want to kind of reinforce this edge, especially when you're going to add a high poly model version. It's important to have the geometry kind of flow with the design. So it'll just help you with adding support edges, which we will talk about later. So like you see here, this is kind of flowing with the edge here. So I think I'll need to add some more edges just to retain the shape a bit before we do a little bit of a retopo here. So I'm going to go to insert edge loop and go to the options, and I'm going to have the insert with edge flow. This will make it so that I it kind of like figures out the shape and tries to round out. So if it's a circle, I'll try to round it out, which is kind of nice. There it is. There it is. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now to fix this issue, to have it flow through, I'm going to use the multi-cut and hit shift right click, marking menu, multi-cut, and then click here and click here to add an edge that goes through. Hit enter. And now I'm going to collapse this. So I'm going to hit edge, select the edge, and then hit shift right click and go to merge collapse, merge edges to center. And now when you look at this, you can see the geometry kind of flows through here. So if I were to add an edge loop, see how it just kind of goes with the geometry? That's what we want. So now I'm going to select these ones. I don't like this geometry like this, so I'm going to delete that. When you're deleting edges, make sure you do delete edge here. I'm using the marking menu. If you were to just hit delete, go to vertices here, you see that it leaves all these old vertices, and that will make your geometry really cluttered and bad real quickly and hard to work with if you do it this way. So make sure you delete the edges, or delete the vertices if you do this. So you can select all of them and hit delete. Just be careful with corners. If I were to do this, if I select this and hit delete, see how it deleted the corner, but it kept everything else. So just be careful with corners if you do that, or just use the delete edge. So that's in here, so I select that and delete edge. That's what that would be. Okay, so now I want to make this a little bit nicer topology wise. I'm going to add an edge loop here to retain this shape a little bit more, so I'm going to do that. So go to object mode, insert edge loop. There we go, and then I'm going to move this over a bit, do this. So I want to kind of slide this down so that it evens out the geometry. Like this is too close to this, and this is, I could just even it out a bit. So I can try out another tool that is called Edit Edge Flow, and it kind of didn't do what I want. It kind of divoted it in, and I don't like that. So I'm going to do Slide Edge tool. So I use that quite a bit. And this will slide that edge. Oh, is it working? There it goes. That will slide the edge with the geometry that's on there. So it will try to retain its shape. But now I'm going to move this over a bit to get that. Maybe I'm going to select both of these actually. Move this over like that. And now that's a lot better. And I'm going to use this, and I'm going to try to use the Edit Edge Flow. That kind of tries to figure out how to make your geometry like a little more even. I'm going to do this same thing here. I'm going to hit G. So now it kind of goes in, it kind of flows a little bit better. All right, and now I am going to add some edge loops here. Oop, I'm going to have to change my settings. So if you go over here, this is the last use tool, the active tool, and you can double click that. If I were to close that, it was already up. If I double click that, your tool settings will come up, and I'll change this to turn off that or insert edge flow. I'm going to add some right there and one right here just to do something similar of what I had before. So now let's go over here. I'm going to close this, go to this. So now you can see the geometry, kind of how it flows around this, and yeah, it looks pretty good. I think I'll stop this video and move on to the next one. See ya.